Mac Truck, aka your worst nightmare. Mac Truck, aka your worst nightmare. Mac Truck, aka your worst nightmare. Mac Truck, Mac Truck, Mac Truck.
Good Monday. Happy Monday. Welcome in. You are watching, listening, viewing another edition of the Mac Truck Podcast, Mac Truck in the Morning. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Mackenzie Brooks, aka the Mac Truck, aka your worst nightmare, just like the theme song says. Listen, if you're here with us this evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're watching, listening from, I appreciate you guys being here. Got a little bit of a late start, but we got a little bit of a shorter docket. Lots of topics, but not too many extended details, but we're going to get into that here in just a second. Like I said, I appreciate you guys for being here with me this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're watching from. I appreciate it. Ty Guy, welcome in. I see both. I see everybody back here on both streams here on a Monday, midday, morning, wherever you're watching us from. I appreciate everybody for being here. If you're on our TikTok stream, go ahead and tap the screen, share it out, get all your dailies, all the things. If you're over here on the other side in our StreamYard stream, make sure you share it out, like it, get all your comments and all the things out there and in there and all of the things. Listen, I already see the chat. The chat's already rolling and we've been here for 30 seconds. Listen, we love to see it. But if you watch we're paying attention to docket from the weekend, we've got a lot to talk about. Got some NFL preseason to cover. Got UFC 330 recap. Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Gary to cover as well. Got a recap of Claressa Shields versus Kaye Scott. That entire recap itself. Then we got some WNBA. Gonna try to stick some NFL news in there, but I think I'm gonna save that for tomorrow. So we'll just have to see how much time we have. I appreciate you guys for joining me here today. Please go ahead and tap the screen if you're on both sides. We're about to get it started here with UFC 330 recap here on the Mac Truck Podcast, Mac Truck in the Morning. If you will, thank you for joining me. Let's get into it. Listen, it's been a weekend full of recaps, full of fighting in terms of pugilistic and combative sports, if you will. All of the things. So, and I sigh because there's just so much to talk about. There's so much nuance when it comes to just this specific recap alone. This recap is presented to you by the Underknown Network. Please make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing to the Underknown Network. Make sure you're shouting out and giving love to our executive producer, Evan Thunder Bradfield, behind the ones and twos on the network itself. Make sure you're following all things Underknown Network. Make sure you're following On the Map as well. On the Map music reviews, there was not On the Map or reviews last week, just so you guys know, so you didn't quite miss anything if you were looking for it. Make sure you follow Recognized Game Pod, which comes back in less than a week and a half at the beginning of college football season. I can't wait. And also, you guys may notice we're in a completely different angle. If you could tell, let me know in the chat if you like it, if we're enjoying what we're seeing, all the things, because I did a little bit of a thing this weekend. Obviously, you could tell we got a different angle a little bit. I think it's got a little bit better lighting, all the things, but we're trying out something new, trying out something different. Also, peep the Mama Combat shirt, okay? Peep Fever Hawk. Normally it's Fever Hawk Tuesday, but today it's Fever Hawk Monday because Fever Hawk was clean and it was laundry day. So I didn't get a chance to really look at all my stuff and really go from there. So listen, we're doing it. And also, I would appreciate it if you guys post this to your story, share it out, all the things. But let's get into it. Talking UFC 330, Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Gary for the world welterweight title. And when I say that this performance by Islam Makhachev and everybody on this card was nothing short of exciting, that's exactly what it was. Also, I will have to warn you, I still do have my 4-year-old with me. So there's a chance that she could just pop up. So don't be alarmed if she says hi in the microphone, because it may be a thing. I fully expect it. She's 4 and very curious and wants to know what mom's doing. So we're out here talking UFC 330 here on the Mack Truck podcast, Mack Truck in the morning. It's just about 12:48 Eastern Standard Time for you, just past the noon hour, dropping into the 1 o'clock hour here with you today. Like I said, UFC 330 did not disappoint. If you were one person like me who really enjoys the art of combative sports and the art of just watching somebody legally get punched in the face is fantastic. I'm here for it. You're here for it. If you're not here for it, I'm not really sure what the things. So that's what we're doing. We're hanging out here. I love it. You love it. Let's get into it. Okay. Like I said, it's brought to you by the Underknown Network. Good morning, Ashley. Thank you for joining us here. Good morning, everybody in the streams. All right, let's talk it. Like I said, UFC 330 in its entirety was very dominant. This card gave us a little bit of everything. Dominant performances, competitive fights, veterans trying to hold on for dear life. Unfortunately for Edson Jr. Barbosa, that did not fare his way. We will have that retirement announcement at the end of this segment. Okay. Like I said, it gave us a little bit of everything. Dominant performances, competitive fights, veterans trying to hold on. And another reminder that Islam Makhachev is still operating on a completely different level than everybody else in really the pound for pound for the welterweight division, as well as keeping his streak alive. There's really nothing that he has to prove to anybody in terms of his dominance in this division. I know the one thing that he is going after is a 20 fight win streak to try to pass Anderson Silva. And frankly, he's now got 17. He only has 3 more fights before he hits that threshold. So I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm interested to see what he's gonna do. And I'm looking at some comments here from Alfonso. Welcome in. Talking about some WNBA. Listen, we're gonna get to WNBA in a minute. I love that you always know what we're gonna talk about for the most part. So I appreciate you guys who are very predictive of anything. But make sure you save your comments for these other segments while we're still talking here on the Mack Truck Podcast. Let's start at the top here. Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Gary. Makhachev walked into Philadelphia, obviously looking to make his first defense at welterweight in the welterweight division. After moving up to the lightweight division, for those of you who don't know, Islam Makhachev started his career as a lightweight and then moved up into the welterweight division itself. And to say that this fight did not challenge him would be a complete lie. Like I said, if you guys watched this fight, if you saw this fight, if you even saw some of the highlights and clips, this fight went about as expected in terms of how I picked it. I picked Ian Machado Gary to pull the upset, but he just didn't have enough for Islam Makhachev on the ground. Just like I said at the beginning of last week's cast in terms of our preview for UFC 330 in itself, I did say that Ian Machado Gary was going to have the advantage standing up, which is very true. He had the advantage standing up, but when you have somebody who is known for the wrestling that they come from, like Islam Makhachev is a Russian Dagestanian fighter. Everybody knows that area of the globe is very, very pronounced in the world of Russian wrestling. So I'm not surprised that Islam Makhachev has retained his belt, but just for some more stats here, like I said, he used his wrestling and control of patience to obviously dictate where the fight was going to go. Like I said, Ian Machado Gary had his moments, especially. Ian Machado Gary took a vicious kick to the face and didn't, obviously got rocked a little bit, but it didn't knock him out. And I'm kind of surprised because, again, if you watch the sport, you know how Islam Makhachev fights. His power kicks are what sets everything up for his takedowns, for his level changes, things like that. So the fact that the fact that Islam Makhachev is 5'10", 5'11", Ian Machado Gary is 6'3", 6'4". So being able to get your leg that high and nail him straight in the jaw is what was very eye-opening to me. And when I mean eye-opening, I mean eye-opening in the fact that, like, oh, I'm that tall, I can kick somebody that long in terms of length if I need to. I mean, and Ian Machado Gary is one of those fighters, kind of like I said at the top of last week's preview, is that in its entirety, he's a very well-rounded fighter. Like, he now fights out of Chuta Box in Brazil, and I love that he's over there with Damian Maia. He's over there where some of the greatest Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners and MMA fighters have come from. So you love to see it. Either way, like I said, Islam Makhachev used his wrestling and control to really dictate the entire fight, dictate most of the center octagon space in terms of control time in its entirety. Gary had his moments, especially, like I said, when he was able to come back standing, use his length, but Makhachev was consistent all the way around, which really put Ian Machado Gary in some of those uncomfortable situations that we've not necessarily seen him in terms of the welterweight division. In its entirety, I do think that Ian Machado Gary is going to end up getting another shot, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be while Islam Makhachev is holding the belt right now. So we still have yet to see who else is going to come through. Still have Kamaru Usman, who could be looking at another title shot here. He was a former welterweight champion, right in that same realm with Tyron Woodley as well, from way back then. If you remember Tyron Woodley, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Big shout out to In My Bag Apparel and All Things on the Map. Thank you for joining us, sir. Listen, everybody, like I said, at the top of the show, make sure you are following All Things on the Underknown Network. We have some big stuff happening. If you have not been following On the Map, need you to go to the page and look at the news. Look at the news. That's all I'm going to tell you, because there's big things happening over here. There's big things happening over here. And speaking of news, I got some news from myself. Finally, gonna be dropping that tomorrow. Well, I'm gonna send it to the network first, then I'm dropping it over here. Oh, got hats falling all over the place over here with this new angle. I'm sitting right up where my hat wall was, so got flying objects just everywhere right now. So I apologize. But yeah, like I said, make sure you're following everything on the network. Make sure you're following the Underknown Network in its entirety. Make sure you're following all the shows. Following it out with That Dude Biggs. Recognized game that comes back next Thursday, the 23rd. Or Sunday, rather. I keep thinking it's the Thursday. God. But August is just flying by. Either way, make sure you're following all the shows. Flying Out with That Dude Biggs, the Mac Truck Show, Mac Truck Podcast, Recognized Game, again, that comes back on the 23rd of this month. Make sure you're following On the Map and On the Map music reviews as well. And FLG Game Flow with J-Mac. Yes, we're talking about Von Miller, the NFL, but it's not going to be until later in the show. But I appreciate that. Listen, I have my own thoughts about this signing too. I have a little bit of a rant, obviously, because I'm a Dallas fan, but we're talking UFC right now, and I appreciate you guys for dropping in. And do me a favor, if you don't mind, share this to your story. So in your in your share bar, go down to the arrow, and at the very bottom where it's got all your options to share, make sure you hit share to your story. I really appreciate it. Make sure you tap the screen, share it out. Let's get the heart me's up. We're still on the journey of getting 100 community members so we can create a Mac Truck community gift, and I'm excited because we have about 50 members. Got to get 50 more. My goal is to try to get 50 more by the second week of September. I've had to extend it just for the entirety of the fact that August, it feels like it's flying by. Thank you, executive producer, for those. I'll plug these in the next ad cycle. Thank you for that. God, you read my mind, because I'm slow, so you gotta send me stuff as we talk about it. So either way, the scorecards for the first fight of the UFC 330 recap are as follows. Islam Makhachev keeps and retains his UFC welterweight title 49-46 times 2 and 48-47 in favor of Islam Makhachev, again, for that world welterweight title. Again, with 17 consecutive UFC wins, which is the new UFC record. Now we're shooting for 20. Appreciate you. Kuda Matata. Let's go. Thank you all for joining me. Like I said, I appreciate it. The judges for this card, and I feel like, again, if you guys have been with me for a while, if you know I love combative sports. I like to analyze how like the ins and outs of things happen. And when it comes to this fight card, for once in a long time, I actually feel like the judging for this card specifically wasn't horrible. There wasn't anything. Good morning, JP. Welcome in. There wasn't really anything exacerbating that I felt like was going to warrant a debate in terms of how the judges were scoring some of these cards. We had a stoppage, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the stoppage, but I agree to an extent just because of who the fighter was and their long history in the UFC in its entirety. But we will get to that here in just a second. But my question in terms of Islam Makhachev is, how high are we gonna rank him? How much higher do you think his ceiling can go? Like, he's went from lightweight to welterweight. He's now defended it, and he now has 17 consecutive UFC wins. Like, do we think he's gonna move to 185? I don't know if he can naturally make 185. I also wonder what he walks around at. I also wonder if Ian Machado Gary's gonna try to make a jump too, because both of them have been very dominant in this welterweight division. Very much a strange. I mean, now Islam Makhachev still only has one loss on his record, while Ian Machado Gary is now 17-2. And listen, being 17-2 is no knock. Like, that's not nothing to sniff at, especially in professional fighting, in the UFC, things like that. It's very. I think people think that you have to have a perfect record to be dominant in the world of MMA, and that's not necessarily true. I mean, look at Mike Tyson, look at Evander Holyfield, look at George Foreman, look at every single top well-known fighter or boxer. It's a fact. Like, you don't necessarily have to have a perfect record to be a dominant individual, and you don't have, and it goes for all sports too. Like, let me just rephrase, like, you don't have to be undefeated to be dominant, but I think if you are undefeated, it just shows how dominant you have been, if that makes sense. That's just me, just a little bit of tidbit. Going into the co-main event here, Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson for the women's world strawweight title, and Mackenzie Dern comes back on top, defending the strawweight championship again against Jillian Robertson. Robertson came into this fight riding a 5-high win streak, so she hasn't exactly had any random challenges coming into this. So she's been pretty well prepared. She's been thank you. She's been pretty well prepared coming into this fight, knowing what Mackenzie Dern brings to the octagon and brings to the mat. She's the world strawweight champion. She's clawed and fought her way to get this championship, and obviously she wasn't about to just let Jillian Robertson just snatched that from her. Like I said, if you watch any of these highlights, watch the fight, just know about UFC, MMA in its entirety. You know how hard some of these fighters work to get where they're at in its entirety. Like I said, Jillian Robertson earned the right to be here. 5-game win streak, all the things. Thank you for joining the Mack Truck Fan Club. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us here. Both chats are rolling on a Monday, and I'm excited for this. I appreciate all of this. Thank you so much, you guys. Either way, like I said, but Mackenzie Dern was able to get the job done and retain her championship belt. That's the most important thing, is now that Mackenzie Dern has moved forward with another successful title defense under her belt, I think she can legitimately check off her first contender. Like, she hasn't, and I don't want to say she hasn't, because like, she's had challenging fights coming into this first title defense of this strawweight title itself. But she can now check off one of the top contenders in the women's strawweight division. So I appreciate you, like I said, I appreciate you guys for popping in. Thank you so much. Even if you're just popping in to say hi, drop some comments. I appreciate it. Just do, like I said, do me a favor, drop it on your stories if you don't mind. Make sure you just share it out. I'm trying to get the algorithm back, trying to just get in here and talk sports. Shout out to In My Bag Apparel Customs, founding partner and sponsor of the Mack Truck Pod. We'll have the official plug later on in the show, but it's Fever Hawk Monday. Probably going to be Fever Hawk Tuesday as well, because that's what it is. Thank you for the reposts and the shares over here on each side. I see everything on both sides, still working with 2 screens, but this angle now that we have, a little bit easier for me to see y'all, for y'all to see me, all the things. Back into the world of UFC and MMA. My only question for Mackenzie Dern is, and kind of just like I asked in terms of Islam Makhachev, is how high does her ceiling go? Does she try to pack on more weight to move in to the women's flyweight division? And I don't know if I necessarily could. I think adding on more weight to move to another weight class is significantly harder than dropping a weight class. And I'm only saying that because I'm a heavyweight. So like, the highest I'm already at the highest I can go at 265. Like, the professional heavyweight threshold is 265 plus or minus, depending on, let's say, jurisdiction and all of that. So like, I've always found it harder to drop weight to either stay in the weight class or drop weight to go to a different weight class. But I also know that it can be harder to naturally pack on good weight to move up to a weight class. So I'm interested to see what Mackenzie Dern's ceiling is. I mean, I feel like the only other person that could probably give her a run for her money in terms of trying to retain this women's strawweight title is probably Zhang Weili. I could also see Rose Namajunas, but she's a bantamweight, and I don't necessarily think she's going to try to cut all the way down to 115 from 125, 130. I don't necessarily see that, but there's a lot of challenges that could be faced in the world of Mackenzie Dern and being the world strawweight champion. So we're going to see, moving on into what was kind of an upsetting, and I say upsetting as just as a old school MMA fan, as an MMA fighter, as somebody who's a huge fan of the sport, to see Edson Barbosa Jr. just kind of just watch his career unfold in its entirety during this fight against Esteban Ribovics was very upsetting to me, because like I said, as a fan, I was just like, oh, like seeing him just get pieced up by a younger fighter for me was like, yeah, this is the end of the road for him. And that's what it was. Unfortunately, they said there was the veteran Edson Barbosa. Barbosa had obviously been one of the most recognized fighters in the UFC for years. I mean, well over a decade. Esteban Rivas, however, like I said, stopped him by TKO in the second round. And this is where the stoppage for me was a little bit of an issue, but I also understand in its entirety the safety of the fighters. That's the biggest thing, is like, like Father Time and Mother Nature don't wait for anybody. And when your time is up, especially in the world of combative sports, when you've had so many fights, taken so many, so much damage, all of the things, Father Time and Mother Nature waits for nobody. And I think Herb Dean was very right in his place in terms of making the stoppage. I just don't necessarily think it should have been while Edson Jr. Barbosa was attempting to still fight back. That's my problem, is like, if you see a fighter still attempting to fight back and still attempting to show that they're still being active in the fight, then I wouldn't necessarily stop it. Obviously, I would be having a close eye on it, just like all the other referees and officials in combative sports and boxing and things like that. But again, a lot of it has to do with the safety of the fighter. We care about this. They care about the fighter's safety in the long term rather than the short term, rather than collecting wins, getting belts, opportunities, things like that. So I completely understand it. Afterwards, the conversation immediately turned whether or not we may have seen the final chapter, obviously, of Edson Barbosa's career. Unfortunately, that is exactly what happened. Eventually, the younger fighter didn't just beat the veteran and started focusing on whether or not there was anything left for Edson Barbosa. And like I said, as I was watching this fight, and one thing in particular that really stood out to me was just knowing Edson Barbosa's background. 97% of the time that he has gotten hit in the face or taken a blow to the face, he's been able to bounce back, and that recoil just was not there. Like, it was very, very delayed. And frankly, he was starting to get pieced up in the middle of the first round, and somehow just really weighed in and was able to wait it out until the end of the first round. But he, like I said, he did end up losing by TKO in the middle of the second round to Esteban Ribovics, and the now former UFC champion, UFC fighter, UFC great Edson Jr. Barbosa has hung up the gloves into the world of the UFC and MMA, and what a great career he had. I can't stress enough how much of a great career that Edson Barbosa has had in the world of MMA and just the UFC in general. So my take in terms of this closing for the UFC, the recap of the UFC 330, is obviously Islam Makhachev is becoming harder and harder to argue against, whether we're talking about fighters or generations in terms of being one of the greatest to ever do it. Y'all know how I do. I don't necessarily enjoy the GOAT conversation in its entirety. I think you can have GOATs of eras. I don't necessarily think you can have GOATs just straight out, especially when it comes to team sports, because without the team members and pieces around you, you don't get to be successful, and you don't get to have all the shine and glory, obviously, depending on position, sport, all the things. But in terms of MMA, because it is more of an individualized sport, I still, in this respect, can't necessarily say that he is the GOAT. I'm going to say he is a GOAT of this current generation. Absolutely. There's no debating that. Again, when you're breaking records, when you're winning championships, multiple divisions, and just consistently solving elite competition that just keeps creating those high power conversations, that these types of things are going to happen. These types of questions are going to, be a thing. So my question for the audience on both sides is, if you're an avid MMA fan, or even if you're a casual and you just know who he is and what he's about, is Islam Makhachev an all-time great, or does he have a few more signature wins that he should try to consider putting on his resume before we have this conversation? I don't really know where to go. Like, I don't necessarily know where to go on this side of of the conversation. It's just very, it could be, you could take it either way and it still be meaningful, is essentially what my take is. So either way, before we pop into the next topic here on Mack Truck in the Morning, the Mack Truck podcast, presented to you by the Underknown Network. Got to give, again, a big shout out to the network. Make sure you're following all things on the Underknown Network. Like I said, if you're rocking with the show, make sure you follow all things on the network, supporting everything that we're doing. We've got a lot going on. There's so much great content right now. There's great content coming through with the big announcement that On the Map just dropped. They are also out here just killing it. Okay, like I said, I could not be prouder of my network, especially my executive producer, who has done so much in the background. And I'm tearing up because, like, seeing him work so hard to get us where we are now, and all the things on top of that, it makes me so happy to be here. It makes me so happy, like, just like I said, given this opportunity and the patience and everything that him and the network in itself have just shown. Like, it really makes me very appreciative and humble. So I appreciate y'all at the network, behind the scenes, executive producer. You, sir, are the best. You the GOAT out here for real. But like I said, guys, make sure you're following the Underknown Network, because we have a lot of things going on. It's a lot of good content. It's a lot of great things happening behind the scenes. We're out here giving you, and not just sports content. Let me just reiterate, like, we are very versatile here at the Underknown Network. Like, we have all kinds of things. We have sports, 2 different types of sports shows. We had a video game show. We've got 2 different types of music reviews, one more eccentric, one more official, in terms of getting people literally on the map. On the Map is literally that exact platform. Like, we're doing things differently, but we're doing them at a high level. And that's what it is out here with the Underknown Network. It's true, real, raw, 100% uncut. We're going to give you the honesty, whether you like it or not. If you ask for it, be prepared, but it's going to be the best. Like, we don't teeter, we don't grift, we don't do any of that out here. We're real, raw, 100%, and all natural here at the Underknown Network. So sit back, enjoy, tap in, and we're getting back to sports. Like I said, you can follow us all streaming platforms: TikTok, Discord, Twitch, YouTube, both YouTube channels, Facebook, StreamYard, all the things. We're everywhere. Instagram, you can find us everywhere. Like, I don't think there's a platform you can't find us on. And if there is, someone let me know so I can make sure I plug it. Either way, we're continuing on. I appreciate you guys, like I said, for joining us here again. The Mack Truck Show, Mack Truck in the Morning, presented to you by the Underknown Network. Scorpio King, thank you for joining. Everybody over here, thank you for joining. We're switching over into the W. Listen, the W had so much happen this weekend. Like, and I am looking at my notes. I know some of these are already incorrect, just because I missed the adding the stats from all the games yesterday. So some of these are from Friday. Some of these we're going to be hopping back and forth. But we're starting out. Obviously, got to talk about the weekend starter game in the WNBA with the Indiana Fever versus the Dallas Wings. And the Indiana Fever start out the weekend win streak 98-87. Caitlin Clark had herself a night. Like I said, I know the redundancies with recaps and leagues are a thing. It happens. That's what's happening right now in the world of sports. So I appreciate you guys for bearing with it, but you know how we do here. We do our best to talk about the sporting aspect. However, I'm going to let you in on a topic that we are highly debating about speaking on. But I'm not going to tell you what the topic is. If you've been following the WNBA and the controversy, you should already know where I'm going with this. That's all I'm going to give you for now. But we're talking basketball right now in terms of the WNBA. The Indiana Fever, again, capped this one off 98-87. Caitlin Clark has herself a night. Clark finished with 29 points, including 16 in the third quarter, while Leah Boston also added 16. That's the version of the Indiana that really makes them dangerous. And it has, since Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston have been able to team up in the WNBA. Hi, Anthony. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. The kicker, though, is now being able, not really now, but having the cohesiveness from Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Leah Boston. The WNBA's one of the current and best big threes in the WNBA as we're speaking right now. Again, because Caitlin Clark's creating offense, Leah Boston's producing on the inside, and the supporting cast is also knocking down shots. That's the biggest thing is like we've been able, and I say we because I'm an Indiana Fever fan, but as the Indiana Fever in its entirety, they've been able to finally produce bench points. And it's not just from one player. In the past, it's been like last year, it was Sydney Colson before she got hurt. It was also DeWanna Bonham before she got back to Phoenix. So like it wasn't just one or two players. Like now the entirety of the bench, Maisha Hines, Ellen Ty Harris, KK Timpson, who's now been inserted into the starting five, Monique Billings, Sophie Cunningham, like Lexi Hull. Like we have had the entirety of the bench dropping points, and that's what's going to keep getting us over the hump. We're hitting the peak of like midway point of the season, getting ready for playoffs in its contention. And I already see a comment already from Alfonso. I knew he was going to pop in. Red Bull Queen, thank you for joining us. Tried to tell Atlanta fans they were winning without Canada. Yeah, listen, and we're going to get to that here because that's the last one we're going to talk about. So please keep that in mind. We're definitely talking about it. Either way, that's what I like to see out of the Indiana Fever, just in its entirety, the versatility across the board. And to be honest, I had Indiana losing this game. I'm not even going to lie to you. Just because of how, just obviously going off of history repeating itself. History has a way of repeating itself. It's a thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It just happens. And I appreciate you guys for being here. If you're here over on this side, please tap the screen, share it out, get your dailies, all the things, post it to your story if you don't mind. Over here, same thing, share it out, post it to your story, engage, tap in. We're here talking sports. Paige Bueckers, in terms of the Dallas Wings, also had herself a night. I mean, and per normal, this isn't anything new. This isn't anything, but it's good when you can have a rivalry, and I say rivalry with air quotes because while yes, like it's becoming a rivalry in the WNBA, like both teams being as dominant as they are. Obviously, Dallas having one of the better records in the WNBA. Obviously, now the Indiana Fever being in that fourth spot in the WNBA itself as well. You also have Atlanta in the mix, who we're going to get to. You also have the top two contenders in the Vegas Aces, current champions, and the Olivia Miles-led Minnesota Lynx, who we're also going to get to here in just a second. Like, there's just so much parity and so much consistency of good games and good basketball in the WNBA. That's the biggest misconception, and I still at this point will be until some of the outliers of non-basketball things start to fizzle out more. Like, it's good basketball. If you are a basketball head, and I love the way that I say basketball, just because that's what we're talking about. It's the sport of it. It's the athleticism of the sport of basketball in itself. So that's just me. Either way, the consistency has been there. The views have been there. The talent has been there. The games, just being able to get into it and being able to listen to the commentators get into the games and like actually be excited to be there is what I love the most about just this part of summer, the summer basketball heating up in its entirety. Also, not to mention, we also still have G League games going. We have preseason summer ball for NFL. Like, sports is just in a good place right now. Either way, Vegas and Minnesota also from the early part of this weekend, the Minnesota Lynx took down Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, okay, the point guard Chelsea Gray, and Becky Hammond, 92-87. And this is what, and I don't want to say it matters because like every win matters, obviously, in the ultimate goal to get to the trophy, to get to the championship at the end. Because Asia Wilson still is out here doing Asia Wilson things. She is still the best player in women's basketball right now. That is not a biased take. That is not a, oh, you're a fan. Of course I'm a fan. I'm a fan of good basketball. I'm a fan of great players. But Asia Wilson is still the most dominant player right now. There's only one other person that I would say is equally as dominant, maybe two, and that's Kelsey Mitchell and Olivia Miles. As far as dominance is concerned, and as far as being able to flip a switch and be able to change the momentum and the outlook of a game just that fast. Asia Wilson does what she does. Drops a 32-point burger on the Lynx, but the Lynx still found a way, obviously, to win this game. Olivia Miles led the team also in terms of the Minnesota Lynx with 23 points. And this is the other conversation I want to have in terms of how the MVP race is determined. Number one, why Olivia Miles is not, and I mean, and I feel like again, most of us are not casuals in terms of the sport of basketball, have Olivia Miles on their MVP listing. And I feel like a lot of people's MVP listings when it comes to the WNBA may vary by a player or two, but I think for the most part is pretty consistent across the board. My personal top 5, and just in no order whatsoever: Olivia Miles, A'ja Wilson, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Paige Beckers. Now, so obviously, you can move around some players, you could take some players off. There's a lot of different, ways you could do this, but I think the most solidified top 3 right now, with the 4 and 5 spots being able to be interchanged: A'ja Wilson, Kelsey Mitchell, and Olivia Miles for those top 3 in terms of the MVP voting. Right now, it's A'ja Wilson's to lose. I also think it's Kelsey Mitchell's to lose to an extent, but Olivia Miles has nothing to lose. She frankly has Rookie of the Year locked up. I don't care what anybody says. That woman better win Rookie of the Year, or I'm gonna throw a fit. I'm calling whatever AP voters there are. Okay, I'm calling whatever MVP voters there are, and y'all gonna get a very strongly worded email from me, because if y'all don't somehow have Olivia Miles on this list of MVP and Rookie of the Year, you're getting a strongly worded email. Either way, can the Minnesota Lynx be a team that gives everybody problems in the postseason? And right now, the answer is yes. We haven't even gotten to postseason yet, but I believe they have only single-digit losses, if my memory serves me correctly. You also have cohesive pieces. You got Nafisa Collier back. That was one of the biggest pieces you were missing, because obviously she had that double ankle surgery in the offseason, took her well into the first quarter of the WNBA season to recover and get healed. Obviously, now that she's playing, all of the things. And if I'm being quite honest with you, I don't really see anybody beating them. I just don't see how you what is it going to take, or what team is it going to take, or what type of game is an opponent going to have to play to break the consistency of the Minnesota Lynx. That's what I want to know. What kind of consistency in a team, and what kind of dog is going to have to come out to beat this juggernaut. Thank you for the daily heart me, Ms. Deb. I appreciate you. They have single-digit losses. They're 29-7. They haven't even smelled a 10-win loss season. And to be honest, I don't know if they're going to. I don't know if the Minnesota Lynx are going to touch another loss, at least before the postseason. I would predict they would get one loss in the postseason and still go on to win the whole thing. The current champions are 24-12. So we're going to see. I'm excited to see how this goes in its entirety. Either way, kind of moving on here. Into the next couple games here. The New York Liberty, who've also had a very interesting season, their record has not shown how good they have been. And they also have had just a little bit of an off season. You lose Satu Sably due to injury. You have a brand new coach. Your championship coach gets essentially released off her duties out of nowhere, and then takes over the head coaching, the head coaching reigns over in Toronto for the Toronto Tempo. So you have a lot of moving pieces. You've had people getting hurt. You've had Sabrina Ionescu, who wasn't available for the first couple games of the season. So that kind of, offset a little bit of things within trying to keep the consistency. But I still see New York being in the postseason as well. But with this game, they did pick up the win over Connecticut, 82-75. John Colco Jones led the Liberty with 23 points. New York also continues to, like I said, continues to be a team that makes noise and continues to matter. They just haven't been as highly sought upon in terms of their win percentage and their win consistency. That's really all that is. And obviously, we can't count them out. We know what they did in 2024. We know what they can do with pieces. But when you have a new coach, probably on a little bit newer of a system from what Sandy Brondello was rolling with, that these types of things can happen. So either way, like I said, John Cole Jones had 23 points. The expectations are still different, though. At this stage, we're not asking whether these teams are good. We're just asking, are they championship good? Are they going to be able to keep the standard? Are they going to be able to put pressure on those teams like Minnesota, like Indiana, like New York and like Golden State, because Golden State is also out here. That's a team I'm going to talk about here a lot this week as well. Like I said, the WNBA season is getting to that point where the standings are starting to tell us one story, but the eye test is telling us another. We're getting to the point in the season in terms of WNBA that we're starting to see who's really about that life and who's not about that life. We already have those listed teams who are about that life. We're talking also in terms of being about that life, but just being that far off to where they're questioned. And that is the Atlanta Dream. I'm shocked at the fact that the Atlanta Dream, and when I say shocked, I'm shocked because of how much better they got when they removed, and not really removed, but because they no longer have Brittany Griner, but you replace a Brittany Griner with an Angel Reese. You add a Bree Jones, you add a Jordan Canada, Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard over there, Tahina Pau. Okay. You have a dangerous team. You have a very, very dangerous team. And when you put it all together, it makes for a team who's now in that 5 or 6 spot. The top 8 spots go to the playoffs in the WNBA, because there's only 15 teams right now. So obviously as the league grows, those numbers in terms of how many teams get in go up, all the things. So that's the question is, are we out here in terms of being the Atlanta Dream? Are we going to be able to continue the consistency? And I obviously think that having them just lose to the Indiana Fever in yesterday's game. Good morning, Melissa. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you for joining here on Mack Truck in the Morning-ish. Mack Truck Podcast. It's just about 1:25 here Eastern Standard Time here in Michigan, given to you all the sports takes, all the things, again, presented by the Underknown Network. I appreciate it. Please make sure you're tapping the screen, grabbing all your dailies, putting it on your sport, all the things. So we're talking sports. Tomorrow's docket's going to be a little bit better, a little bit more meat and bones, all the things. Right now, we're still just covering WNBA. But like I said, if you watched last night in terms of yesterday afternoon's game with the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream, it was one for the books. And for me, it's the chippiness. It's like, obviously this is professional basketball. Okay. You're going to have chippiness. You're going to have athlete rivalries and everything. You're going to have like those types of rivalry games just mean more in the moment, if that makes sense. And I kind of had a similar conversation when it comes to fandom and rivalries, in terms of college football and teams. We're going to talk about that later on this week too. But just in terms of this game, the Indiana Fever did end up beating the Atlanta Dream in overtime in Atlanta, 95-91. The Indiana Fever are now 23-12 and currently hold that number 4 spot in the WNBA rankings. The Atlanta Dream, I believe, are number 5. So off the top of my head, I believe it is the Minnesota Lynx, the Vegas Aces, Golden State Valkyries, Indiana Fever, Dallas Wings, and or Atlanta Dream, and probably the New York Liberty at that 6, 7, 8 spot. So top 8 spots right now. And in terms of your game leaders, and this is what I love about especially like this matchup with the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream, is the consistency in terms of people putting up points and these games turning into high point value games in terms of the results. But everybody gets the ball. Everybody gets a chance to ball out on each side. The past 2 games, it's been Caitlin Clark. Last night, Caitlin Clark dropped 26 points, went 9 for 20 from the field, went 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Alicia Gray on the other side went 32 points. Who she also tied her career high for the record. So huge shout out to Alicia Gray. She was out here doing the damn thing. Her and Ryan Howard were out here just playing dig a duck and get Angel Reese the ball underneath in the paint, which you love to see. 32 points from Alicia Gray, goes 11 for 24 from the field, hits 100% of her free throws at 6 for 6. Aaliyah Boston, 14 rebounds, 11 D boards, 3 O boards. Angel Reese also had 14 boards. And I want to give a huge shout out to Angel Reese and all the haters, because Angel Reese don't care what none of y'all think. Angel Reese is out here to play basketball, and she has absolutely improved her game since her rookie season. And for those people who are still out here just holding on to stuff that happened in college, Like, let's get over that. We're in the professional leagues now. Like, obviously, as a fan of whoever you're a fan of, don't matter who you're a fan of. Like, you're still always going to hold those things against the person you play or you don't like. But if you're truly here to watch basketball, you watching basketball. You watching the game, guys. Like, everybody knows that. Like, come on. Like, just stop. Like, let's let the college stuff go. Okay. Obviously, these players, know what it's about when it's between the lines and it's between, the time clock. But outside the time clock, they just out here trying to live their life just like everybody else. All right, back to basketball. Caitlin Clark had 9 assists, had 5 turnovers, played 41 minutes. Angel Reese also had 6 assists, 4 turnovers, played 38 minutes of this game. And I want to get to Kelsey Mitchell really quick. Kelsey Mitchell is still on a hot streak. I believe she just had her now 18th game straight of 20-plus games of 20-plus points. If I'm not mistaken, I'm double checking the stats here just to make sure. Yeah, so Kelsey Mitchell had exactly 20 points, goes 9 for 22 from the field, goes 2 for 4 from 3, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 turnover, played 36 minutes. So Kelsey Mitchell out here, okay. Indiana Fever out here, WNBA out here. And like I said, if you guys were with me at the top of the show, what's good? Welcome in. We're talking WNBA right now here on the Mac Truck Show. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Go ahead and tap the screen, get your daily heart me's, all the things. Drop a gift if you want. Drop a comment, random, all the things. Listen, you guys will also be proud to know I have not had a soda in less than a day. I've gone like 18 hours with no Dr. Pepper, and I'm proud of myself because we're trying to make healthier choices out here. Had my coffee already, got my vitamin water, so we're still here talking sports. Just got about 2 more topics to cover here with you on the Mac Truck Show. It is 1:30 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time here on Mac Truck in the Morning, the Mac Truck Podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're listening and watching from. But right now, we got to give a huge shout out to, I know, listen, no Dr. Pepper. I'm kind of surprised myself, but it's okay. Like I said, we're down to 1 Dr. Pepper a day. I haven't had my Dr. Pepper yet for the day, and I'm going to see how long I can go. If I could go most of my shift without having it, I'm cool. I'm proud of myself. Either way, merchandise plug. Listen, need you guys right now, whether you're in the TikTok shop or you go to inmybag.bigcartel.com. I need you to order all Mac Truck apparel and all things West Coast legend, Bulls Dynasty, Ring Me off of the brand shop, the official partner and sponsor and founding member of the Mac Truck Podcast here, by no one other than the also executive producer for the Underdog Network, Evan Thunder Bradfield. Make sure you're checking all things In My Bag Apparel and Mac Truck Apparel on the TikTok shop or bigcartel.com. And when you use the code word TRUCK, TRUCK, you will get 15% off your entire order. Again, the code word TRUCK for 15% off your whole entire order, whether it's on the TikTok shop or at inmybag.bigcartel.com. Make sure you're checking out the entirety of the lot. The shit is fire. Okay. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Like I said, my cart's still, now my cart's sitting at about 1,800. Okay. Did some more online shopping. Okay. Did some more online shopping. Did some more window shopping. Put some stuff in my cart. Ready to go. Yes, Alfonso, we're getting to NFL in just a second. It is the last topic, so just bear with me. We got to talk about Claressa Shields, though. We're getting back into sports here. Talking about Claressa Shields. We're talking boxing. Also going to talk the celebrity boxing match tomorrow. And if we were talking in the chat about this celebrity boxing match between Lano Brown and Ray J, and honestly, I'm kind of offended. But I gotta talk real boxing first before I can talk the celebrity stuff. But if y'all watched or seen any of the clips from the celebrity boxing match between those two, watch the clips, and then we're gonna have a conversation about it tomorrow. And listen to that, the network's out here laughing, and I'm laughing and so offended at the same time. As a purist of the sport of boxing, I was just like, what are we doing? What is happening? Either way, Claressa Shields versus Kaye Scott recap here. Let's, like I said, talking boxing here on the Mac Truck Show. Okay. We're coming straight out of the gate with this one. Claressa Shields is different. Claressa Shields is an alien from Michigan. This is also her outside of Michigan. First time she fought outside of Michigan, I believe, in about 4 seasons. 4 seasons of boxing, 4 fights, if you will. Okay, she came into this fight against Kaye Scott with something to prove. And what I mean by that is not just because she needed to prove that she was a champion, not just because she needed to prove that she could fight. Obviously, if you watch boxing and know the sport of boxing, especially from the women's side, you know that Claressa Shields can fight. You know that she can box. She's an Olympic champion. She's a multiple-time Olympic champion, a multiple-time gold medalist. She's a 5-division, 5-weight class champion in the sport of boxing, okay? But because she was coming back down from 160 after competing at heavyweight, mind you, she is the current heavyweight champion as well. Let's keep that in mind while we're talking boxing here. Dropping from 160 dropping back to 160 after being a heavyweight. And if you're heavyweight or you fought at a heavier weight, you know how difficult it can be to have all that weight and then drop it back down to what you were naturally. Speaking from personal experience, it sucks. But when you're in the pro levels of this, it's easy. It's easy to be able to fluctuate, but the cut and getting back down there and all the things and reacclimating is not easy. So this was not an easy fight for her to prepare for. She did a 12-week fight camp when 90% of her fight camps are anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. So the fact that she took an extra 4 to 6 weeks for this fight alone tells me that she was out here being serious. And not that any of her other fights and preparations for fights haven't been serious. It's just when you're fighting somebody of this caliber, when it comes to Kaye Scott, who's also a very storied champion in her own right, you have something to prove to everybody else who seems to think that what you've done already isn't good enough. And what I mean by that is Claressa Shields has a lot of haters, just like a lot of other polarizing athletes, polarizing boxers, Floyd Mayweather, Mike Tyson, things of that nature. I'll leave the feud with them. It's a thing. I don't really know what else Claressa Shields or what people feel like she has to prove. I don't understand. Someone tell me. I have watched this woman fight, and she's only a couple years younger than me, mind you. I'm 34. I'll be 35 in January. I'm also still out here fighting my way in terms of professional sports. How she has been able to hold this composure and be this diplomatic but also be polarizing at the same time and still fight at a high level when it seems like there's so many distractions and haters and drama and all the things is crazy to me. Okay. But like I said, beating that challenge in itself, going from heavyweight back to 160 is a challenge in itself. Shields has lost approximately 40 pounds to drop back to 160. So she was just over 200 pounds preparing for this fight. Because heavyweights in boxing, I believe, are 200 and up. Depending on your sanction, all the things. But I'm almost positive the heavyweight realm for boxing is 200 pounds and up. She had put in 12 to 14 weeks to get back to the middleweight division. That's insanity. That's a serious weight cut. But once the fight started, you couldn't tell. I honestly thought that she was going to have a little bit of a problem finding her spots again in terms of having all that weight come off of her, because naturally when you lose weight you get faster, you get stronger, you're relieving a lot of joint pain, all the things that come with being a heavyweight aren't necessarily there when you drop weight or lose weight class, all the things. So she looked comfortable, she was very controlled. I could also tell because when I'm watching fights, I look at it from a fighter's point of view. I'm looking at it from an athletic point of view. If I'm Claressa Shields in that time period, I'm sitting here okay, I can't rely on what I've done. I have to rely on what I've prepared for right now in this moment. And when you watch her take the first 2 swings, and mind you, both her and Kaye Scott did not throw a lot of jabs. It was mostly power. It was a lot of power. It was a lot of just strong determination in terms of, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm going to do this is what I'm going to attempt to do, and I'm going to do it at a high level. And I love the fact that both Claressa Shields and Kaye Scott in their own rights went on their own press conferences and were debunking these stories. As they were coming out, as reporters and commentators were asking these ladies these questions, both of them were debunking them on the spot. And that's what I love to see out of athletes. It's when you hear a narrative, I'm going to get on my space and tell you that you're incorrect. I'm going to get on my space and tell you that's not what it is. I have tremendous respect for so-and-so. I prepared extra for so-and-so. that's exactly what Claressa Shields did. That's exactly what Kaye Scott did. The one thing for me that really stood out in terms of Claressa Shields, the preparation coming into this fight, is just with the media side of things. She laid it straight out. She's like, I'm curious to see what Kaye Scott or how Kaye Scott reacts when I throw this right hook at her. She said, and that's not, and she literally said, that's not saying she's not strong. That's not saying she's not, she's not ready to go or she hasn't been preparing. She just said, I'm literally so strong right now. It's unreal. And it almost like she couldn't believe that she went from 200 back down to 160, like almost like, kind of having that like, oh, like, did I really just do that? Like, is this really happening? Like type thing in the moment. So either way, the finish, 6th round. Okay. Powerful left hook straight to her solar plexus. And I thought I didn't think Kaye Scott was coming back from it. She got knocked into the ropes, had the standing 8 count, was able to show that she could still fight and that she was still in the fight. And then Claressa Shields went off, teed off on this woman. And I hate that everybody that Claressa Shields has fought has gotten the, and when I say I hate it, because like, obviously I want to see the fights go longer. I want to see the fights go as long as they possibly can and still have the champion come out on top or have the underdog come out on top, whatever that looks like. There was no way that Kaye Scott had any kind of calculated rebuttal for some of these shots. Like there was no calculated, like there's no way she was prepared for the flurry of shots that Claressa was hitting her with. It was insanity to me, but in the best way possible, if that makes sense. Like I'm very like, oh, okay. So like she hit you with this. Thank you for the daily harmony. FLG. Follow FLG on the Underknown Network. Listen, one half of the hosting crew that is on the map and on the map music reviews. 1/4 of the hosting crew for Recognized Game. All right. Make sure you give him a shout out. Make sure you're following all things on the network. Always got to give a network plug and a shout out to the members of our network. That's how we grow. That's what we're doing out here. Point blank, period. Make sure you're posting to your stories, all the things, get your daily heart me, send your gifts. I appreciate you guys on both platforms. Either way, Shields landed a powerful left hook and followed it up with a combination that literally forced Kaye Scott to stop the fight in the corner. They literally threw in the towel. After Claressa Shields hitting her in the solar plexus on the other side of the ring. Okay. We're dancing around, getting back in the middle of control. Claressa Shields backed her up into her own corner. Hit her with a bunch of flurries, and you could hear the left hook. That's how nasty the shot was. You could hear the left hook hit the solar plexus, body, and face of Kaye Scott. And as soon as that left hook landed and Claressa Shields wound up to hit the other side of her lead, Kaye Scott's corner threw in the towel. Very similar and reminiscent of Ilia Toporia's corner throwing in the towel when he fought Justin Gaethje at UFC 250. But just like I said, TKO in the 6th round, and just like that, Claressa Shields still is the reclaimed WNBA and WBC middleweight championship. She's now professionally 19-0, still undefeated, 5-division world champion, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and now she's back to 160 pounds, holding those titles again. But here's my question before we hop into the NFL here, okay? Because eventually we have to stop asking whether Claressa Shields is the best female fighter, one of the best female boxers. I think we have to, at this point, ask, is she considered one of the best boxers, period? And I know the answer. The answer is yes. Look at her resume. Her resume is very reminiscent of a Floyd Mayweather, of a Mike Tyson, of a George Foreman. So, excuse me, we have to take that into consideration. I think we're to a point with sports and especially boxing now that we can start to separate or alleviate the fact that she's a female. She's a boxer. I encourage any average Joe or any lower ranked male boxer to come in and box her. And people are going to use the excuse, oh, she got dropped during a training session. It was a training session. Guys, everybody gets dropped in a training session. Everybody gets dropped in practice. Like, you don't know the type of adrenaline it takes to be a boxer or a fighter. It's completely different than training and boxing. You can try to simulate a fight as much as you want, but nothing compares to the fight in its entirety at all. Now, before we hop in to our last topic, which is the NFL preseason and some news and notes, On the Map is back this week, guys. On the Map is back. On the Map music reviews, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 8/20 this week, okay? Send your links in the bio Again, live on all platforms, the Unknown Network. Also presented to you with, this is the some of the huge news that we had with On the Map. Like I said, if you're paying attention, you already know. Presented by the Unknown Network as well as the Tara Thomas Talent Agency. Big shout out to On the Map for getting that success done. This collab and partnership for them is fan-fucking-tastic. Fantastic. And like I said, at the top of the show, if you guys are with me, I will always give a shout out to those who have been with us, been in our corner. And I'm speaking us in terms of the network, and especially, like I said, the executive producer and the co-executive producer, that is J-Mac and Evan Thunder Bradfield. Again, the work that they have put in to make this thing go is what's most important to me. Being able to add to that in the little way that I have been, and just the fact that y'all listen to my show is crazy, and I appreciate it. Like, it's stupid, but I'm here. I love it. Huge shout out to the Tara Thomas Talent Agency. Huge shout out to On the Map. Huge shout out to Evan Thunder Bradfield, executive producer and co-producer in J-Mac. Okay. If you are an artist and you want to be heard, this is the platform you need to be on. I cannot stress that enough. I can't stress that enough. If I were an upcoming artist or an unknown artist, I would be here. I would be getting my links in every week. I would be asking if there's reviews. I would be on it, just like all the artists that have been discovered now through this. And I'm telling you that right now. The music reviews are real, and they do it in a way where they're incorporating everybody. It's not just a review from the two hosts. It's a review from the entire chat. It's a review from the people that are going to be listening to the music pieces themselves. Also, On the Map is back with this week with episode 19. Samo Green, this coming Wednesday, 8/19, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Look at the prepared clips. Look at the network page. That's where you're going to find all of this, not just here on the Mac Truck Show. I don't know how else I can explain this to y'all. But listen, we're here. We're back. Time to talk football. And Alfonso, I need you in here if you're still in here, because you've been wearing out this topic. So we got to start with this topic. That is Von Miller. No, listen, no malarkey zone is insanity. J-Mac out here talking about malarkey. Listen, if you know, you know. Listen, that is our executive producer's favorite word. Malarkey is it. Listen, I love y'all. Like, I am here for all of this. Yes, Von Miller is back home in Dallas country. The Dallas Cowboys. Okay, and when I say this with excitement and kind of bitter disgust. And I say disgust because if Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones were planning on just signing a bunch of defensive pieces, why the hell didn't you just say we have other plans? Like, Jerry Jones has had no problem coming out before and saying that he's going to, like, he has other plays. He's like, we all know how Jerry Jones is. He has no filter. He has no, come on, AP top 25 poll that we're talking about tomorrow. Jerry Jones has no filter. We know this. Why? But why hide the fact that you're going to add more pieces to the defense? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you want to hide that? But also probably because, like, the deal wasn't done, all the things. So here's the meat and bones of it. Okay. The Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, all the things, as of an hour ago, officially signed Von Miller to a one-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys worth up to $7.5 million. And all this information, WNBA, NBA, NFL, you can find at yahoosports.com, ESPN.com, especially NFL.com, WNBA.com, and all the affiliate league online sources. But this, specifically in terms of Von Miller, comes to you via Ian Rappaport, okay, NFL insider for NFL and ESPN. To say that I was surprised at this signing for the Dallas Cowboys would be a lie, because I absolutely was. It kind of came out, I feel like it kind of came out of left field, because there hadn't really been any talks, like at least live talks about it up until just maybe the past couple days as far as Von Miller. So I'm sitting here like, okay, you franchise tag George Pickens. He signs the franchise tag for $27.3 million for 2026 season. Then you sign Quinnen Williams to a 3-year, like $106 million contract, 3-year extension. Okay, perfect. We got our nose guard locked up. We've got our 1A receiver locked up. You get a bunch of pieces in Rashawn Gary from the Packers with that trade from the Packers as far as Michael Parsons. But you still feel like you have a piece missing. Apparently that piece is Von Miller. I'm excited to see. Von Miller's back home, but I'm excited to see how this goes. But you also have Christian Kirk, who is he's a defensive prowess, but he's just not. I believe this is his first season as a full coordinator. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I'm excited to see where this goes. Obviously, if I'm Brian Schottenheimer and obviously being the head coach, I have a lot of say. I have say when it comes to who's starting what position in terms of like the entirety, but obviously that's up to the coordinators and the coaches in as far as like that specified position room. So Von Miller back home again via Ian Rappaport just about 2 hours ago. Pass rusher, veteran Von Miller has again signed a 1-year, $5.5 million contract, sources say, with a max value of $7.5 million via Ian Rappaport and the Dallas Cowboys. When I say this, and I say this in the most respectful way possible, why are we going after older veterans? Like, and maybe he had expressed in free agency, like, if I'm going to end my career, I want to end. I see. Can Von ball still? We've seen it. We've seen glimpses of it. We saw it when he was in Buffalo, saw it when he was in Denver. We've seen him in various places. But how are they going to use him in this Dallas offense, or Dallas defense rather? I'm excited to see who the starting four for the front four is going to be when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. And I say that to say, because it seemingly enough, obviously last year with the Dallas Cowboys having the season that they were supposed to have and didn't have, and all the things. Either way, they did not have a winning season, did not make it into the postseason. All the things. But does adding Von Miller put the Dallas Cowboys over the top? Like, does adding Von Miller to that defensive core put Dallas in a better position to make it to the postseason? Right now, as a realistic Dallas fan, I'm going to say no, because I don't know what his production is going to be like. I don't know what it's going to be like with him having a bunch of young guns and another veteran in Rashawn Gary, mind you. But the defensive core is locked in. The defensive secondary, seeming enough, is locked in. We've got Damian Overshown. We've got Caleb Downs. We just got out of draft. We got Malachi Lawrence. We just got out of draft. We've got pieces. It's just putting them together and seeing if they're cohesive. I'm excited to see it. Either way, we've got some preseason games here for you, recaps here on the Mack Truck Show, and I appreciate you guys for joining us. And we just got the meat and bones of the scores. So starting out just with our Friday slate, we went over the first couple games at the top of the week, top of last week when they first started. So we're going into from Friday to yesterday. So just the scores: the Broncos fry the Atlanta Falcons 27-7, and I want to me, but now it also brings up a lot of issues for is going to be your starting quarterback. Which broken lefty is going to be your starting quarterback is my question. That's what I want to know. Who are you going to start? You have Tua Tagovailoa and you have Michael Penix Jr., both of which are accident prone, both of which have had significant injuries in the league in their time. Both of them have had. And when I say limited, I mean as far as like they have not. I don't think there has been a season yet where either quarterback has had a consistent season of play, like a consistent season one of play, season two of play. Like, I don't think they have been able to string together an entire full season. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me on that, but I don't think I am. Either way, Falcons have a lot to figure out. You still have Bijan Robinson. Obviously, you just signed him to a long-term deal in the offseason. You pick up to a T off of trade and waivers. You have Michael Penix Jr. down there. You also, still have Drake London down there as well. You have your pieces, but who's gonna throw to those pieces? Who's going to hand the ball off? Who's going to command the offense? Those are pieces. Those are issues and questions we have. Moving on into some more stats and just scores here from our preseason slate here on the Mac Truck Podcast. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Thank you so much. We got about 10 minutes left. We've kind of had our audience interaction here in the chat, so probably not going to have that entire section where we just kind of go through comments and everything. But like I said, I appreciate you guys for being here. Just got a couple minutes left here in the show. Go ahead and tap the screen, like, share it out, get everything out. I also will be working on clips when I get home tonight because I did get to do it this weekend, and that's okay. Like I said, I have my daughter here. I'm honestly surprised she has not come in to the office. And like I said, if you hear a little voice, just say hi back. She probably just wants to hop into the microphone. Okay. But if you hear a little voice, say hi back to her. She's cute and adorable and a Sour Patch Kid of her dearly. It's just getting into the world of sports. She's asking questions. She's asking all the questions. Oh, come on, stickers. Listen, those are sick. Let's go, stickers. Either way, the Buccaneers get this preseason win over the Jets 24-16. The Dolphins drop this one to the Washington Commanders and everybody over there 7-20. Saturday's games, the Chicago Bears defeat the Cleveland Browns 10-34. The Eagles drop this one to the Ravens 27-4. Dallas Cowboys win their preseason game 17-7 over the Seahawks, current Super Bowl champions. The Vikings with a now Kyler Murray led offense, although JJ McCarthy did take a lot of the snaps in preseason. They get this one over the Giants 13-10. The Panthers lose to the Bills 29-14. Jags win over the Saints 24-20, and the Rams beat the Chiefs in their first preseason game 20-12. Now, I see some questions and comments here from my dear friend Alfonso. Also, like I said, huge shout out to Feverhawk. Huge shout out to In My Bag Apparel. It's Feverhawk Monday, probably still going to be Feverhawk Tuesday as well. Okay, tomorrow we're probably wearing weaponized air raid. For those of you who know. If you know, you know. If you don't, better hop on board. Hashtag Mama Combat. Hashtag In My Bag Apparel and Customs. Alfonso, I think Von Miller will be a Hall of Famer. He is a Super Bowl champion. I do think he'll be a Hall of Famer. I also think if this is truly going to be Von Miller's last season, I almost said fighting MMA. If this is going to be his last season playing football, it's going to be this season for him playing in Dallas on a 1 year I feel like is going to tell a lot if people are going to think that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't necessarily know if I would pin him as a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I feel like I have to just because he has a Super Bowl ring, and that in itself is enough to me. Like, obviously, like, ring culture these days has a lot to do with it, but how did you affect the game? It's always your accolades, how you came into the game, and what you did for the game. I feel like those are the best three pieces of criteria to go off of. Yes, Wardell, weaponized air raid, Dell Curry. That's how I've been saying it lately. Either way, Mamba Combat is a thing. I this shirt. I'm glad that I found it. Like, I lost it for a little bit and found everything. It was also in the same box as all my podcast, like, leftover merchandise, and I'm salty because I lost that box for like 4 months. I couldn't find a fucking thing. Excuse my French, but I was salty. Couldn't find a thing. And then started cleaning and look, found my box. So found that like a month ago. So had everything, was able to take everything out and get my life together. So more comments here from the chat here. He won a Super Bowl MVP that year in Denver. That is true. He did win that Super Bowl MVP in Denver that year. They won. We'll say my question is just like, realistically, as a football fan, I think that this is totally a boss move. Like, as far as being a Dallas fan and being a football fan, like, this was a boss move by Jerry Jones. I just don't understand why I understand now why you weren't or aren't wanting to pay George Pickens quite yet. I personally think if George Pickens balls out the way that I think he's going to ball out, I think he's going to make that much more of an impact. And I think it's going to put Dallas in the position they want. But also, what a lot of people don't, or a lot of casual fans may not understand, is that I think Von Miller's best asset as a veteran player is the fact that he has been to the postseason and has won the postseason. That's what's going to be the biggest difference. Is we have a lot of pieces on the Dallas, especially the Dallas defense, that have not smelled a playoff game, have not touched a playoff game, have not been to a playoff game, with the exception of Rashawn Gary, with the exception of those pieces that were on some of those older Green Bay Packer teams with Aaron Rodgers, with Mike McCarthy at the helms, those types of things. So Von Miller has that pedigree. But is one person enough? Like, is one old school player enough to add to a seemingly enough newer school, younger defensive prowess in the Dallas Cowboys? Like, that's what I want to know as a fan. So I'm interested to see how this goes. So what do you guys think? Like, do you think that having Von Miller as a Dallas Cowboy is going to make a difference? Like, truthfully, like, and you can be as honest as you want. You can be as blunt as you want. Like, because I'm still kind of on the fence. I think it's going to be a good thing, but I have to see the production first, if that makes sense. Vitamin water for the win. Oh, vitamin water for the win. So, like I said, I'm interested to see. Alfonso says, I don't think so, but I think they'll make the playoffs. And like I said, that's kind of where I'm at as far as I don't think, like, and that's not to say that Von Miller isn't an electric player. That's not to say he's not an impactful player. I just don't necessarily think the whole, like, having just one veteran on the defensive front is going to make that much of an impact where it just elevates everybody's game right away. Like, I think it's going to take the entirety of the season and to get into the playoffs for that to really show. But we also obviously don't, we're not privy to everything in the training camps. We're not privy to, like, being able to see, all the things, but we are privy to being able to go back and look at the previous years of service that he's had. So I am just excited to see, so I'm just excited to see how this happens. I'm excited to see football's back, because now we no longer have a week where we don't have football. Like, do you guys know that? Like, we're back to the places of the fall where we don't not have football on the TV screen. It's so hard for me to hold my composure. Like, I'm so excited that football is back, and in a big way. Like, listen, J-Mac, we back. Okay. We here. Football's back. College football's back. NFL's back. WNBA is hot. Baseball is hot. Obviously, boxing and UFC and combat sports are year round. Like, SummerSlam just happened, and I'm kind of disappointed in myself because I was going to make a point to talk about it, but I feel like I'm a couple weeks late, so I don't like necessarily backtracking. But wrestling has been hot. Okay. The music reviews on the map have been hot. On the map itself has definitely been scorching out here. Mack Truck. Yeah, listen, you're right. You're right. I don't know. I'm old school when it comes to, like, backtracking, but I mean, also, like, when we're talking about, like, the, like, the mainstream shows that we all see, like, they do a lot of, like, backtracking as far as, like, trying to bring up points that were talked about and everything like that. So I definitely get it. I'm just very, like, I try my best to keep up with all the current stuff, but, like, I feel like I feel like things are still current until it's not. Like, if that makes sense, like, until we just stop completely talking about it for a while, or, whatever that looks like. So I'm just, everything's in a good spot right now. I'm texting the wife to see where my child is, because she really wanted to come in and say hi, and I don't know where she wins. So if I could get her on really quick and get her little voice on the microphone, I'm going to do that. But while we're still just waiting for the next couple minutes, like I said, I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody out there in the space. Just, being here, being a part of the space, being a part of the things that we're doing here at the Unknown Network. Like I said, I cannot stress enough how proud I am of my fellas in the back. Shout out to the guys in the back. If you know, you know. Okay. Like I said, On the Map out here, huge collab with Tara Thomas Talent Agency. It's incredible. On the Map music reviews taken off. On the Map been taken off. Been out here. Been doing all the things. Okay. FLG out here. Been out here. In my bag, definitely been out here. Absolutely been out here. Okay. That dude Biggs out here flying out. Been here. Recognized Game. Been here. Left. And now we coming back. Mac Truck Show. Same thing. Been here. Rebranded. Now we're back. We're here in its entirety. And and I always try to leave the show with, listen, ain't just trying. You out here. Like, we're out here making things shake. Especially with all the stuff that we've been talking about that's on the cusp of happening. Listen, man. Listen, it's not trying means you're not putting an effort, and we know the effort. Thank you for the Daily Heartbeat Elite. I appreciate you for hanging with me here on the Mac Truck Show. And at this point, ain't no try. You're just doing it. You're just out here. It's happening. It's just waiting for everything to come full circle. Like, that's what I be telling myself. I'm just like, keep plugging, keep, getting everything prepared. Like, things are happening or being noticed. Like, it may not be happening at the rate that you want either. That's the thing, is like, things don't happen when you want them to happen. Things happen when they're supposed to. And it sucks. And I know it's cliche, but like, the more good things that happen with the network for everybody in the network, and not even just myself, I could care less about myself. I want my squad to be successful. I want the family to be successful. I want the team to be out here, and like, you can see it if you know where to find it, if you know what you're looking for. Whoops. So it's very much, it's homegrown. It's wholesome. Like, I don't know how much else I can just express my gratitude. And if I'm overexpressing, please let me know. But I'm really just trying to get y'all to understand that, like, to be blessed and favored and be put in the positions that we've been in is fantastic. And like, just this opportunity has opened up more opportunities just for me personally, not even just with the show, but like, I've been able to, like, my network has gotten bigger. Like, I've been able to get things for the network. I got all kinds of guests in here. I don't know, and I really wish I knew where my child was, but maybe we'll get her on next time so she can say hi. But she wanted to say hi. I don't know where she went, but listen, it's 2:05. This is the first time we've gone past the time, and that's fine. Listen, right, exactly. We are all on our way. You absolutely right. And I got a couple more things to button up in terms of network stuff and stuff over here on this side, but we're getting there. Also, for the record, and this is like more of a personal issue, but because it's screwing up some of my stuff over here. If you are on this platform that is TikTok and you try to change your card for your payout, don't do it. Don't do it. Do not do it. Okay? I've had so many problems with this stupid ass thing, and it's frustrating my life. So if you're a content creator, just stick with PayPal. Don't try to change your card. Just leave it there and transfer it. Because I tried to be like cool and like, oh, I finally got my new card. I'm going to just switch it over. Don't ever in your life do that. Don't do it. It is such a hassle. It is such a mother effing headache. Just don't. And that's a warning for all you out here who are thinking about changing your payout information. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a headache. Either way, that's it. That's all we got today. It's 2:06. I'm kind of surprised. We went this long, had a lot of content. WNBA, NFL, boxing, okay, all the things, UFC. We had a lot. I feel like today's show is pretty productive. Tomorrow's show is also going to be productive because we're back tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. or obviously just thereafter. The Mack Truck Show, Mack Truck in the Morning. Be prepared. Like I said, this week we're going to talk about a tough topic. I still have to try to figure out how we're going to get into the topic, like this segue, but we're moving. Also going to talk more college football. Going to talk about the official AP polls that came out, not just the ones that I was seeing and reading from last week, but the official AP top 25 preseason polls. And I can tell you the Iowa Hawkeyes are on it at number 22 per normal. That doesn't surprise me. The top 10, however, is very interesting. And I think it's very disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to Texas. I think it's definitely disrespectful to Indiana. I don't know why Ohio State should be or is number one from what I've seen. We've got a lot to talk about, but still talking more NFL news, talking contracts, talking AP top 25 college, talking tomorrow. We will have, if you've been paying attention, been around with Mack Truck for, the last couple seasons, Mack Truck's watch list comes out tomorrow. I'm excited. I have mulled this over for 8 months now. Okay, I have mulled this over for 8 months. Who am I putting on my watch list for college football? I'm changing it up. Listen, some of y'all who have known my college watch list has been kind of just like I'm picking teams from, one team or two teams from each conference, completely different. But I will tell you, yes, Iowa's still on there. That will never change. But Iowa State is not on that list this year. And I'm going to tell you why tomorrow. But make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing, all things to the Underknown Network as well. Make sure you're getting your Mack Truck and all things In My Bag Apparel merch on the TikTok shop here, as well as inmybag.bigcartel.com for that 15% off using the code word truck. Yes, Notre Dame is too high. We're getting to that as well. Nader Gator, thank you for joining us. We are about to end the show, but make sure you get your daily. Stay tuned tomorrow. We're back, new angle. Also, what do you guys think of the new angle? I need to know. What do you think about the new angle? What do you think about all things Mack Truck Tunnel here? New angle, new vision. I flip the studio around. I'm here for it, frankly. I'm digging this. Better lighting. Okay, I feel like over there on the other side, I was a little dark and it was a little grainy. Hopefully these are a little bit better. Once I get the time tonight to work on the clips and everything, I'll have clips from last week's show. I'll have clips from today. Also, for those of you who have asked, and I'm sorry that I have not been able to get back to all the messages on just especially on Instagram. I unfortunately need to start using my Instagram more. I don't use it enough. I should, but now that I can get clips and everything and take some heat off of the very busy executive producer himself, now that I can go in and do that, I'm going to be doing that. But as far as just my daily random content, as far as just going live and hanging out, I apologize that I've not been able to do that. This new work schedule has prevented me from doing that because I don't get off until 11 p.m. Eastern time. So it's a little bit closer to reset and everything. But if you guys are still up and moving and awake and all the things by that time, I have no problem going back live again, just, getting some randomness, just having an open conversation like we used to. But I do apologize that you guys have not seen me live outside of my panels and outside of one live that is Big Country. Also, big shout out to Big Country. If you do not know who Big Country is, I highly suggest you research him. I post him on my stories. He is one of the best individuals out here. Community boxes and building a family is what we do over there in Big Country Family. That's what we do. If you're looking to just grow your network and meet a bunch of new people like Melissa, who's in the chat over here in the TikTok, Duck Daddy, who's over here, a lot of my people and friends that have come that I currently have now have come from the Big Country family. It is a big family. We hang out, we praise each other, we just vibe, listen to music. We get everybody some love in terms of the community boxes. So if you're looking to just try something new out, hop into one of those lives. There was no live for him this morning. He did post on his story, so make sure you're checking out at 6 Central, 7 Eastern. That is when his night live is going to be, and 90% of the time he goes until reset, which is 11 p.m. Central Time, and obviously 12 midnight here. So Make sure you're following all things. The Unknown Network, Recognized Game, Mac Truck Show, FLG, On the Map music reviews, and Flying Out with That Dude Biggs. Make sure you are getting your music in to the On the Map music reviews link itself on the page itself. Make sure you're following In My Bag Apparel for all things new fashion and Mac Truck apparel updates there. Make sure you're following us on all social platforms. Make sure you're following me as well. I appreciate it. Get your daily heart music. Like I said, the goal by the second week of September is to get up to 100 people in the fan club to make a Mac Truck gift. That is the current goal. We already hit our first goal, which was getting to 200K diamonds, which we have done. So I appreciate y'all out here for killing it. Thank you. Come on, bicep. Oh, listen, y'all know I got ADD. So I just be seeing stuff and it happens. Duck Daddy is the daddy of the hour. That is a thing, sir. Thank you for joining us. But listen, I'm out. I got to go to the bathroom and get my life together so I can go do this 8 hours at the shop. But I'm here. I appreciate you guys for being amazing. The network, thank you for being amazing. Tara Thompson Talent Agency, thank you for the collab with my boys. They deserve it. You deserve it. Everybody, thank you for joining me today. It was a great Monday. I just got a text from the executive producer. I think it's coming in pieces, but I got something from him. Tackle Ant. Need to tackle Ant. He's a big dude. It's fine. He towers over me, but the bigger you are, the harder they fall. That's all I got to say. Either way, Autumn. Thank you for joining me. Listen, we literally are just ending the show, but I will be back tomorrow. Thank you for the Daily Harvey. I appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow, between 12:30 and 12:40, depending on how long it takes my equipment to turn up. Okay, but we're back here weekly, just like we were before. 12:30 Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern, and 11:30 Central, 10:30 Pacific. All the things, Mountain Time, everything. We're here talking sports. Make sure you're following everything on the network. Like I said, I can't stress it enough. I appreciate you guys for joining me today. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay tuned and stay sporty. We'll see you on the next one.